So welcome to Wealthonomics. I have here my buddy Alec. We've known each other for some time, and he actually attended my one of my first seminars. We're going over the stuff, and the kind of things that I've learned. As you go through these seminars and these things, you kind of like gotta keep going back into the lab, and like you define it. And that's kind of a great metaphor for what we should be doing in our lives. Like, when you don't achieve what you want to achieve the first time around, you got to kind of keep reflecting and going, what can I do better? How can I do better? How can I do it differently? So you can achieve a different result. Now, Alec, so give me some feedback of, did the first seminar, how did that go into, like when you took it into your life? Because, a lot of times we go to seminars, we get all excited about it. We're like, rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we have no results.
I go to a lot of seminars, especially if they're local. Like, we both live in Miami, so Miami's a hot spot for seminars.
Yes.
And seminars are great. The one thing that I don't like about seminars is it's just motivation. Like you go to a seminar, you're motivated. Like the few days after a seminar, like you're the hardest worker, and then it dies down. But what I liked about your seminar is it was motivation and it was mindset, but it was a lot of like practical information too. And that was one thing that like right after it ended, like I texted you that, and I'm like, this is like practical information. Like you had a wide range of guests talking about life insurance, real estate, mindset, like everything, stocks, whatever you had. It was, it was a lot of information, and it covered a wide range of aspects to build wealth. So I like how you did that, where it wasn't just pure mindset, pure, hoorah motivation. It was practical stuff. And I like it. Like I have the recorded sessions every once in a while. I'll go back and listen to it, especially the part about life insurance. I have a life insurance policy now that helps me to get.
I want you to speak a little bit about that, because there's something that opened up. Because I remember the conversation, we were talking about some of your family members, so Alec had some family members that were totally against life insurance, right? They're like, no, don't do the life insurance. And then we had a conversation, you attended the seminar, and then you came back out of the seminar and you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, the seminar was a changing point for the life insurance. And it, got me motivated, and I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to understand life insurance. And then, talking to you, I'm like, this sounds too good to be true almost, but like, it's not, like, it's crazy. And like, I don't want to just try to pitch life insurance, but like, I pitch it a lot to people, like my real estate friends, like I'm in real estate, and like my buddies, I'm like, yo, you get a life insurance policy. You get your cash value out, you're getting interest.
What was the aha moment for you when you got it that the life insurance works, and how you leveraged it over and over and over again?
When I put the money in, and then like I let it sit there for a little bit, but when I took the money out, when I called the life insurance company, I'm like, hey, like, what's my cash value? And then, within a week later, I get a wire for, a good amount of money, So like when I get that,
5 figures plus, just so you know.
Yeah. And like when I get that money, I'm like, wow, like the money I originally put in was still building while I got this money, and it was just like two completely different accounts. And that was really like the change, where it's like, let's say I put money into a Roth IRA, that money's going away, right? But if I put money into this life insurance policy, that money is still away building interest, but I could still pull out money from a separate account while this still builds interest, and I'm paying super low interest on this, right?
Yep.
So if I buy a house, let's say I get a loan, I'm paying 10, 12%. If I get a mortgage, 7, 8%, right? But with this policy, I'm paying 2%. What is that, like 2.5%? Something ridiculously low, where it's free money,
Pretty much.
And the money I originally put in is still growing. So if I didn't attend the webinar, I would have never got that policy. Like that's real talk. Like for real.
So Alec went pretty fast. So let me just slow it down for you, because it's pretty simple. So if any of you ever had a secured credit card, right? You know that you put X amount of dollars in the bank, and then you get a credit card, and it's secured with that money that's in the bank account. Life insurance works pretty similar to that, where you would actually put your money. So when he was referring to cash value, you're putting your money in, and that becomes your principal. That money keeps on making money, compounded interest, tax-free. This is the key. So it's just kind of like when we talk about credit cards, we always talk about compounded interest, where that compounded interest works against you. Where the principal keeps going up. And for investments, you want this. You want your principal to keep going up. with, with compounded interest. So what he was talking about, his cash value, was that, okay, his money's already working within the life policy. Now, the life insurance policy allows him to borrow money without touching the principal, and that money, he can use it for whatever he wants. Yeah, there's an interest rate to that, 2.5%. And then he could use that, and he's in real estate now, so he could lend his money out at 12%. He could use it for transactions, and it comes out cheaper than going out to the street to get money. And so this is what helps him out when he starts talking about he could take that money out, put it back in, take that money out, put it back in, and make money with that money he takes out. At the same time, his money is still making money on the principal within the policy. So I'll give you a simple example. Let's say he had $100,000 and he takes out $100,000. Well, that $100,000 that's in the policy is still making interest. The $100,000 he takes out, now he can do that to do whatever he wants with that. He could buy a house, he could lend the money out, he could flip a car, whatever he chooses to do. He could go on vacation. He could be a high roller in Las Vegas for a weekend. And then whatever money he makes with that, he could pay back the loan if he chooses to, and then he still has the interest that he's made from that. And so he could keep doing this over and over and over and over again, infinite amount of times. So this is where you learn, and you hear people talking about becoming your own bank. This is one of the ways that you can become your own bank.
Are you going to have another life insurance person on for this upcoming seminar?
What we're focusing on this upcoming seminar was more about like that shift that happened. We talk about wealth. So when we learn about these in the upcoming seminar, there are many other facets to wealth, because most people, and I was guilty of this too, associated wealth with income. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you imagine a wheel, like almost like a bicycle wheel, and so that's one spoke on the wheel. There are many other aspects to wealth. And I call that the wealth wheel, where there's wealth of relationships, wealth of income we talked about, wealth of community, wealth of health, wealth of your education, wealth of your spirituality, and wealth of time. When you understand how that all fits together, when you have everything, just imagine you riding down the street and you have, a certain amount of spokes missing, that wheel won't work anymore. And that's where a lot of people feel that their life is off. So this part of the seminar that we're doing now, we'll eventually have more breakout sessions where we'll explore more different ways of investing. But the first step is to understand where you're at and understand what's actually missing. And so that's what we're talking about in this seminar.
I like that. No, I'm excited. And when is it again?
That seminar is actually starting in 3 weeks from today. That's going to be the second week of May 8th, 9th. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but the second week of May. And it's going to be for 5 days. It's a 5-day challenge. It's free. So you could come, show up, and you can see the different aspects of the wealth wheel. You learn how to incorporate that in your life. And then, we'll have a VIP. So you're part of the VIPs, where you actually get some Q&A, and you get to learn a little bit different. You learn a little bit more in depth of what we do. You're also going to get a chapter of my book that actually specifically talks about the wealth wheel, and you get the replays. I think that the replays were helpful for you, right?
The replays are good, yeah. I came back to you come back to them whenever you want and just watch them. If anything that you went over too fast, rewatch it.
And it becomes part of your resource library after a certain point. It's like, I know there's certain things that even you and I have gone back and forth, and it's like, oh, what was that? And I could just go back to resources. You understand, that's where wealth of community comes in, where you have your community that can actually help you thrive, but also you help your community thrive as well.
Yeah.
So one of the things I know that we spoke about before was when you used to work a 9 to 5. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I worked a 9 to 5 in 2020, and then unfortunately was unemployed due to COVID.
Fortunately, depending because
fortunately, unfortunately, definitely fortunately looking back. But yeah, I worked 2019, 2020, early 2020. I worked a 9 to 5. And I was in Miami at the time.
Wow.
I lived in West Miami, Miami Gardens, Miami Lakes area. And then I worked in Brickell.
So it's about an hour drive or so, right?
About an hour and a half drive with no traffic, 20-minute drive. You know what I mean? But with normal rush hour traffic, it was an hour and a half. I would leave my house at 6:30 to get to work at 8, and then I would leave work at 5 or 6, depending on how many calls, because it was a sales job, how many calls I had to make and whatever. I wouldn't, some days I'd get home at 6:30, 7:30,
wow.
And I would just be wiped out after that. My life was just work.
And what time would you go to bed?
like 9, 10, you know, so it's like an hour and a half of like
really?
awake time. Yeah.
So all your wake time was dedicated to work. And then that's where kind of like what we talk about in Wealthonomics, where it's like, you're waking up at 6:30. A lot of times we don't count that prep time, where that means get ready, eat breakfast, get into the car, get the gas to get to work. But it's not like you just jumping out of bed and you're going to work.
Yeah.
And so that robs you of the time of being able to do other things. So I imagine you must have been like frustrated, exhausted,
Yeah, it was exhausting. And like, I know like social life, I know like relationships, like, I didn't have time. Like, what am I going to do? It was just, wake up, go to work, go home. The weekends, it's like, oh, I finally have time where I'm not working. But I was working in sports. So sometimes there was games on Saturdays and stuff. So I'd be working. And then, if I wasn't, I would just be exhausted. Like, I just, because I would work essentially like, let's say 8 hours during the day, plus the hour and a half driving there, hour and a half back, that's another 2-3 hours. I'm working 10 to 11 hour work days. You know what I mean? And of course I get like a lunch break and stuff, but like, I'm still at work. Yeah. So like, I wouldn't go to the gym. In college, when I was in college, I used to go to the gym every day. I didn't go to the gym during that period, so like there were 6 months where I didn't work out, and I was just working. It was a good time. Like, I was making decent money, but like I was also depressed during that time. I had no balance.
So balance is key, when we're talking about this, and when we're talking about Wealthonomics, one of the main things is about understanding about wealth in all areas of your life. So then COVID hits, right? So let's fast forward to that part.
Yeah, so COVID hits, and then the sports world shuts down, and I was in sales, so selling sports tickets. Obviously, if there's no sports games, there's no tickets to sell. So I was unemployed, and then that's when I started, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. That's when I, eventually discovered real estate, wholesaling real estate, investing in real estate. And then, probably like 4 or 5 months into my journey, we connected. And then, you helped me get my mindset right. And then now you're helping people on scale with the Wealthonomics. And I'm a huge supporter of it because, you know what you're talking about. Like, you've helped me a tremendous amount with making sure that like I balance my real estate lifestyle, because I was still like going in with that 9-to-5 mindset where it's like, I'll just work all the time, and you're like, take breaks, hey, you're really stressed out, go to dinner tonight, what I mean?
I remember.
It's like, and like you helped me with that, and that's what you're doing on Wealthonomics. So I mean, that's why I'm even sitting here with you, because like I'm a huge supporter of the balance and the lifestyle, but also making sure you're not overworking yourself.
One thing that you're really good at was, and I had to learn the hard way, was like putting the proper systems in place and finding the right people. One of the things is that when you have time, you can feed into all those other aspects of wealth. And so you create the time. How do you create the time? Listen, I've had to make this, and I'm sure you had to in your business too, make an analysis. Because you understand, and anybody who's an entrepreneur understands this, is that like you're your own diminishing return. So at a certain point where your business starts to take off, you're going to actually hinder the growth of your business because you're trying to do it all. You actually need to hire more people and not have to know the how of everything, but who can do the job better than you. And you've been able to leverage that immediately. You have systems in place, you got people working for you, from all across the world. And as a result, you've been able to have your business take off. And now you're going on other different projects. So, I mean, life is good for you, Now you have a social life too, right?
Yeah. Now I have a social life, relationship life and stuff. It's super important leveraging, finding out like what the lower paid tasks are, and leveraging them out, admin tasks, low level lead generation tasks, and leveraging other people, and really making sure that you're spending your time doing the most valuable things in your business and in your life.
There's a little bit of an age gap between us, right? Not much though, right?
10 years?
Yeah. But the thing is this, we grew up in a different world, like now when I grew up, there was not all this technology. You had to learn how to grind it out. And I was taught get a better education so you could get a better job, become a better worker. And that was the skill set that I was taught. And now with the information age, it's a different set. Not saying that it's any easier, but rather it's a different set of challenges. And so what would you say to like kids your age, right? That are grew up in this information age, some of the challenges that you were able to overcome, and how can they get through that?
I think the information age is amazing, but it's also limiting because there's too much information, right? It's amazing because there's so much information and there's so many ways that you can make money, you can build businesses, you can do things to make, a life of your own, but there's also too many, right? There's a million different things you could do. Like before we started recording, we were talking about shoe flipping. Like that's a whole nother thing, YouTuber, influencer, wholesaling, drop shipping, there's a million different things. So it's really just, finding out like what you're passionate about and sticking with like one niche, what I mean? Like I knew I was good at sales, right? So it's like, what way can I make money working for myself doing sales? And that's real estate, right? And selling and buying real estate. That's what I figured out. So it's really like sticking to one niche, but also being exposed to a lot of them. So you have like a wide mindset of different things that you can do and not sticking to the one that you don't enjoy. I mean, I would say, attend Wealthonomics. Like Wealthonomics is going to be great. Like you're going to go over a lot of different ways to build wealth. The mindset. I mean, learning about the niche is one thing, learning about the way to make money, but if you don't have the proper mindset and you don't get started, you don't take action, like it's all for nothing, right? How many people do you know that are like educated real estate investors but aren't real estate investors because they never took action? I would say attend, webinars. I still think you should charge for it, but you're doing it for free. Attend Wealthonomics and educate yourself and figure out like what avenue you want to take.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that, when we're talking about this, the mindset and what I learned is like, after a while, I started to learn what my purpose was. So it wasn't just about chasing money anymore. It was more about what is it and how can I make a difference? And I started to find out what my purpose was. And I started to learn that I can attract wealth just simply income wealth of income with my purpose. And one thing that I learned was that I put at my core, and I think that we had a conversation about this before, was that at my core, what I did was like, what is it that I love to do? And what I mean by that is what I love to do on my off time. You said you like to work out and you like to socialize and stuff like that. So I put that as my core. So for me, it was travel. And so when I started to put that mindset in place about what I want to do and how I want to make money, I wanted to be at my core to be able to travel and spend time with family as my core. And so when I did that and I put that as my center, then naturally, by law of attraction, my job, the way I made my money had to support that. And what most people do is they kind of they flip it. They put their core as their job, and that takes censure before family, although they may not say that. They say, yes, I'm doing it for my family, but the truth of the matter is that you're spending more time away from your family than you are with your family. Yeah, you're supporting them financially, but spiritually, emotionally, your kids still need you, and so you're not there.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that the hard way, to be honest with you. And so when you put that first, then everything else comes subsidiary to that, and the things that you're passionate, the things that you love, end up taking a back seat to that job. And then you blink your eyes, your age, and you blink and you're my age. And you're like, what the hell happened? How did so many years just pass by?
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I learned from this whole process. And because of that, and facing certain obstacles in life, I learned, and that's how I created Wealthonomics, because I saw that there was a niche of people who may be financially well off, who may have all these things, but have not quite figured out how to balance it all out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So there's nothing else to say more, but then join Wealthonomics.
Yeah, I'm excited. When is it again?
It is May 8th, the week of May 8th. All the information will be down below, where you can click on the link and you can register there. It's a free 5-day challenge where you learn to become a wealth warrior.
Wealth warrior.
Wealth warrior, yes.
See you there.
See you there. Thank you.